You've seen the news. Something bad is happening at the White House. It seems like it. I mean, there's a huge cloud right now over the White House. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, it looks like they're in trouble.
Well, the FBI's investigation into the Russian interference of the 2016 election will be taken over by special counsel. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller is going to oversee that investigation, a move many on both sides of the aisle are saying it's a good move.
All right, Robert Moses has more. Robert.
Greg and Rosanna, Bob Mueller is 72 years old. He is the second longest tenured FBI director next to only J. Edgar Hoover. Mueller is credited with really keeping the FBI together following the 9/11 attacks. He served as director from 2001 to 2013 under Presidents Bush and Obama. The Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein is the one who appointed Mueller as special counsel. President Trump reacted to this move saying, quote, "As I have stated many times, a thorough investigation will confirm what we already know. There was no collusion between my campaign and any foreign entity." The president and many Republicans have said a special counsel really isn't necessary, given the fact that there are 3 different Russia investigations happening right now. But others say the only way to ensure a fair, impartial probe is by appointing an outside voice like this. Democrats and Republicans alike say Mueller is the right guy for this job.
I think it's a good thing because this takes the politics out of it, hopefully. This has gotten too political. People with any news that comes out, those on the left yell impeach, some on the right say it's fake. So this is hopefully detoxes some of the politics of it.
You have a body that is truly independent of any political consideration and also has all the resources it needs and a single focus on the oversight of what Russia did.
So as you hear there, Democrats and Republicans really in lockstep on this move. Mueller will have the ability to prosecute any crimes arriving from this investigation, or I should say arising from this investigation, if he determines there have been crimes committed. That is the latest live from the newsroom this morning. Greg and Rosanna.
All right, what does it all mean? Let's bring in the experts.
All right, we have with us 2 very, very important people who know a lot about prosecution. We have a defense attorney, Arthur Adala, who worked for the state
Brooklyn District Attorney's Office.
Okay, and we have former federal prosecutor Michael Wiles, who's now doing a lot of immigration work. Nice to have you both here. So what will this special prosecutor look into? Is it obstruction of justice? Is it collusion? What are we looking at here?
Well, the words are collusion. That's the initial one. It's not the obstruction of justice, the part regarding the conversation they're alleging between the president and Comey, asking him to step back from Flynn's investigation. That has to do with Turkey, and the president may be allowed to do that anyway. This has to do with, was Russian involved? Were Russian authorities in the voting booth with you and Greg and me and Mike or not? And Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, says, you know what? Let's take this out of the whole Trump administration's hands. We're going to find a neutral party who served a Democrat administration, a Republican administration, and let him conduct his investigation.
And when that's happening, when you've got a guy like Robert Mueller looking into your business, Michael, can you conduct life business as usual? When someone is under this kind of probe, it really has a tendency to take over everything, doesn't it?
A well-oiled prosecutor. He was a U.S. attorney under 3 other presidents. He was FBI director under 2.
No, his credentials are established. Now, when you got a guy like that looking into this matter, can Donald Trump, the president, the Trump administration, function normally? Your sense?
I think this is good for both sides. Quite honestly, we have a sterile environment. We're going to have a complete positive airing of what's going on. There's so much venom on both sides of the aisle. It's impossible for the president to govern, and our country needs this. Were the Russians hacking into our system? Was there any element of obstruction? Let's get it out in the open.
So, I mean, what's the worst thing that he could find?
But here's the thing.
And what would happen to the president of the United States?
So, but Greg, to your point about, getting it out in the open, it's not going to be out in the open until after his investigation's over. This is not
take years.
This is not
This
is not a congressional investigation where people are sitting at a table, C-SPAN is covering it, gavel to gavel. This is going to be behind closed doors. One of you used the word sterile environment. It'll be a sterile environment, and at the end, we'll get a verdict, and the verdict will be, was Russia involved, and did the president or anyone right around him know it, and it's a prosecutorial offense or not?
What's the worst case scenario?
Well, to your point, they're going to be looking backwards. The special counsel is going to look backwards. It's up to Congress to then take the intelligence, to take the information, then to act on a forward-going basis. This is very reminiscent of what was going on in the Nixon era. You had leaks. You had the beginning of this whole thing happening because of Washington Post articles, it's the same kind of scenario. We've been through this before. The question is there substance here? Right now, it's really a tool for both sides to banter, and it's not fair to America, it's not fair to our electoral process, in all truth, for this not to have a public airing. We have to put this behind us.
Well, the Nixon thing, it took about 4.5 years for that to take off, and this is happening in 4 months. 4 months
But
into
the
this
president,
administration.
let's just be clear, the president is saying, I'm happy about this, I didn't do anything, there was no collusion. I mean, he's made a very clear statement that he didn't do anything wrong, and so he's happy about this
Russia
investigation.
obviously is not going to cooperate with this investigation, right? So how difficult will it be?
Very difficult. And can you imagine right now in the different theaters that we have in the Middle East, in Korea, how we're going to have to deal with our adversary at the same time we're investigating? Look, let's not delude ourselves. America does not have clean hands in other elections, but these hands were so dirty. They may have hacked into both parties, and we can't have people have less than resolved that our president was elected properly.
But this is when a person, not President Trump, but Donald Trump, this is when he thrives. He thrives when he's on the precipice. This is when he rises to the occasion. And if his statement is true, and I have to believe it, and he's happy about this because there was no collusion, then I think he'll govern like the investigation is not going on.
He may be thriving, but right now the stock market isn't. And a lot of people were freaked out yesterday when Republicans and Democrats alike were talking about impeachment, which, by the way, impeachment is political. It's entirely apart from something like this.
It's a congressional issue. And Michael, I don't know, you may disagree, but I think Congress is going to go forward with an investigation into this, because that's, Rosanna, where we'll hear the public airing. That's when we'll hear witnesses called before.
We're also seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly of when you elect somebody without political experience. America did not want business as usual. This is a gentleman, our president, who speaks straight from the heart, and many times does not have the kind of dexterity or the ethical kind of antenna. Not that he's not an ethical man. I know him and the family, and they are beyond reproach.
Because he helped Melania get documentation.
So you, have you been in touch with him since he's become president?
I've been in touch with Mrs. Trump and the family, but not the president. But
How are they holding up?
I have represented Trump models and a lot of the different organizations for years, and their sense of ethics and propriety and the people around him are unparalleled. But he is a straight shooter. He's going to tell people where he feels and what's going on, and yes, he's going to say, you're fired. And, you know, there are consequences when the guy you're firing is investigating.
It'll be a great line for a reality show, you know?
Right.
All right, so we'll see what happens. By the way, Arthur Aidala, reportedly, you could be in the... do you want to talk about this? I can step back. All right.
Well, there's lots of rumors, you know, like rumors like your dad might be considered for FBI chief,
Which
right?
you have brought up many times. and the other one is that you could be one of the top federal prosecutors here in our area, either for the Southern District or the Eastern District.
Great.
What's happening?
Well, I'm supposed to take the fifth on that. So it's so funny because there was a time I was contemplating running for Brooklyn District Attorney, and then all you're supposed to do is speak about it.
I think I'll step in as your lawyer. I think all three of us are fortunate to have icons as fathers, and we're fortunate to step into their shadows.
Four of us. All of us.
Yeah, that's right.
All four of us.
All right.
Hey, a couple of things from the headlines of Daily News. Trump's worst nightmare. That's what they say about
this appointment. Is it Trump's worst nightmare, or is it just a good headline?
Well, Rosanna, check out this one. Don Defiant. He's got his fist raised. He's happy, and he says no one's been treated worse than me. And by the way, Amy Fisher is back in town.
Yeah, I saw
Remember her?
Rosanna, answer your question. There are much bigger questions than that. And I did a little research to prepare for this show about if he told Comey, I'd like you to, take a second look at Flynn's investigation. I don't see anywhere where that's illegal or impeachable, as people are saying. He is the chief law enforcement officer. They still work for him. It would be different if they were investigating him or they were investigating Russia and he said, back off of this. Prosecutors do it all the time.
Yesterday, Governor Christie said that it's very difficult to prosecute
an obstruction case.
An obstruction case.
To answer your question, I think it's Thursday in the White House. This gentleman has been under such a battery. We have to, as Democrats, as Republicans, let the special counsel, who is beyond reproach, step up and take care of this and move forward.
But we can expect this years.
I don't know, years,
months,
but
certainly.
Months.
It took the Watergate several months before they began the procedures in the courts.
Look at how long it took Comey to do the email scandal thing.
It took 4 months for the president at the time
for it
to come underway.
Well, but that happened like in his second term. I mean, he just started. It's getting a little exhausting.
Well, you know, right now you can't get into the political. You can't get into
Greg's
the political ways.
exhausted.
I love Greg. You're the best.
Michael, what was the final?
You can't get into the media world these days, or, you know, social media was not around in the 70s. You're turning these stories around literally in the half hour.
Well, he's helping.
Well,
Oh, yes, he is.
what would you do for a living otherwise? We'd be sitting in the Friars Club for the rest of the afternoon.
Oh, you mean if he wasn't tweeting like this? Look, people who like him, people who don't like him, wish that he would kind of back off on the Twitter.
He's trigger happy on the tweet.
All right, Michael, where can people find you?
Well, Wild's Law. My dad, again, was John Lennon's immigration lawyer. We have that wonderful book. Dad's still on a book tour at 84 years young. He's still practicing, and we're helping people get visas, green cards, and citizenship, and going to Fresco.
I like that. All right, Arthur.
You find me in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, right around the corner from where we grew up.
What, hanging out on the corner?
No,
Right where we grew up. That's where my law office
You're a
is.
top-flight defense attorney and possibly a future
But you know what,
prosecutor.
Greg? I've never forgot. I still love my neighborhood. I still live in the same block where I grew up in Bay Ridge and Dyker Heights. And my wife is my law partner. So, you know,
That's
I'm
great.
all about family. If you want to find me, just go to church on Sunday. I'll be there.
St. Bernadette?
Is that good? Does that sound good,
Sounds like
Greg?
a candidate.
Sounds
Sounds
good,
like,
Greg?
sounds like he's running for something.
All right, 7:43. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
here. Good
guys.
day. I'll be right back.
Amy